Hi. So I just uploaded a video, I think, that I did ages ago and it just wouldn't upload, it kept freezing, and I only finally got it up yesterday. So I'm probably going to be posting both of them around the same time. But the spiritual ego one that I posted, I feel that it's kind of come to me in a bit more of a solidified way. So I'm probably going to repeat some things because I can't fully remember what I said in the other one. Because like I've said before, I don't really plan these things. I just have a feeling on something and then I just come and make a video live, hence why they don't always flow that freely, but it's just how I feel. It's how I feel is the right way to go about sharing my vlog. So, you know, everybody has their own little style and way of doing things. Some people plan and they have their little noteboards there, and you know, that's all perfect and cool, and mine, I just kind of free flow a bit. Hence why sometimes I'm a bit all over the place, but I do try. So the spiritual ego, I can't really remember fully what I said, but I feel there might have been some things that I missed out that I really wanted to say. So the spiritual ego, which is rife at the moment, I still have it myself as well, and but I'm aware of it now. So now it's like I just want to slap myself every time I go into it because I'm so aware of it, but I'm still doing it. But I see it so much. I just go down my feed on news feed on Facebook, and it's like, oh, I can't. I can't even look on there that much anymore. It's like as you start to unveil your ego and you start to integrate it and become aware of it, it is literally like there's a whole huge bunch of walking egos around. It's all you see, and that's really kind of the phase that I'm in, and of course it's all fine and it's all how it's meant to be, but that is kind of what I see right now, and I see it myself as well. And the spiritual ego, I mean, I wanted to first start with the all is one. Now, all is one, you know, we're all from source energy, so we're all experiencing ourselves via different forms, contracts, life experiences, and playing ourselves out. And a lot of people like to say, oh, all is one, one love, all one. But actually, when it comes down to it, they are very into feeding an individual personality. And also, they still like to cast people aside that are not all one. So it's all one, but, you know, this person's vile, this person's evil, this person's dark, this person's a reptilian, this person's like Satan, this person's this, but we're all one. So, you know, all is one is understanding that we're all part of one source creation playing itself out and experiencing duality in order to hopefully evolve to the point where we can integrate our ego and go back to one source. So, you know, you can't really say that we're all one, but then, you know, you're not anything like that person, or that's got nothing to do with you, or this person's just totally evil and corrupt. You know, it's like kind of saying we're all one, but not with anything negative. We're all one if it's peace and love, but if it's anything negative, I refuse to see there's any kind of part in me that might reflect that, or you know, it's very much. I feel like there's a lot of, you know, it's very. I'll even go into me here as well. I don't want to say everybody else, but it's very easy not to notice your own stuff. Or, you know, anything that comes into your experience in close proximity is probably going to be showing you a bit about yourself. You know, things that maybe you're not so connected to, that are still going on in the world, perhaps is a little bit of a different thing. But anything that's really showing up in your reality is really showing you a part of yourself as a soul. And the duality you still have within you, and perhaps the darkness as well as the light that you still have, and the ego that you have. And it's very easy not to accept that and to say, well, I'm this and that person's this, and, you know, I don't get why this person's in my reality, because, you know, it's very hard for people to really actually truly understand that there is a part of them in that person that's shown up. I love integrating now like I am. or like I do at the end of every sentence. It really helps me because I can really, really go deep with that now, and I can really see how, you know, it's really easy to get into blaming and judgment, and then actually there is a part of you reflected there as well. And when you go really, really deep and you get really honest with yourself, you can see it more and more and more, and it just keeps evolving from there. But it's very easy just to wipe it off and just say, oh, you know, that's that person, and it's just annoying me that that's happening or that's in my experience, rather than being really honest and real with yourself. Another thing with All Is One is, yeah, we are at different levels of evolution, spiritually, but that we're all kind of one source, and we're all able to fully heal ourselves and guide ourselves from our kind of higher self. And we don't need to, and this is why I'm so anti-reading, because it's not that, you know, I love it when people kind of share their experiences or things that are like really true to them, but when you end up watching loads and loads of these readings, or having loads of readings, or speaking to Archangel Michael, or speaking to a guide, or I only do this because my angels told me, or I only do this because Archangel Michael told me to do this, or this isn't really me, it's God talking through me. And you know, we are God. We are completely the creator of our own reality. We created this, and we chose to experience this from a higher self, admittedly. So there's, you know, there is some unconsciousness until we can fully connect to our higher self and understand what we wrote in for ourselves and what our soul role is, and, you know, what we're here to overcome. And the way that you connect to your higher self in order to be able to do this is by letting go of trying to find the answers externally all the time. Like, oh, I'm waiting for guidance off, you know, my friend or my neighbor or God, or, you know, this certain angel, or, you know, or I'm waiting for them to heal me. Like, we can do all this stuff, but only when we're connected to our higher self. And you can only really connect to your higher self when you stop listening to all that stuff, really, because it kind of confuses you, and it's like your radar spins and you don't really know anymore what's you and what's other people and what's this person, and it's like you can't even tap into your true guidance as a soul and your higher self. So, you know, we can't just sit there like commutes, and there's a time and a place for all of this as well. You know, obviously when you first wake up, you need to understand things, and you're drawn to certain things, and, you know, it's all part of the process, so it's fine, it all works itself out eventually. And you kind of need to listen to things to be able to trigger your own memory, but then it can almost go so far that it ends up with you listening to so many different things, and guides and channels and readers and your own cards, and this told me to do this and this told me to do this, and, you know, you lose the ability to really tune into you and your higher self, which is really where the absolute best information comes from. And that's why I always say that I don't do readings, I don't have readings. Occasionally, you know, of course, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to change that now and really learn how to tune into me and into my higher self, and find, you know, the information best for me. And it takes time, you know, because I've been so addicted and so hooked on trying to get information from people, get healing from people. It took a while, and it's still a process for me of then trying to actually disconnect from that and reconnect to myself. And it's a process that I'm doing at the moment, and I think partly is the reason why I'm kind of experiencing a little bit of a void and unknowingness, because it's such a new feeling to be connecting to me instead of desperately trying to find answers for things from others or from outside sources that just aren't me and my higher self. So that's something that, you know, the spiritual ego is a real kind of tricky one, because it feels like spiritual advancement, yet at the same time, you know, can keep us really stuck as well. And that's a big one, is that kind of trying to find things outside. And like I said, it's all a process, and sometimes on the journey these things are really useful, in sort of getting things going and getting the ball rolling, and they were kind of needed for a time. And then there comes the time when you need to kind of come back to yourself, and it can be quite hard to detach from all that stuff you've been doing, to kind of not connect to yourself. And it's hard to even work out how to connect to yourself because you've been so used to it. But really, every time if you see somebody kind of raving on in a bit of a spiritual ego, and you put "like I am" at the end of it, you can often see that they are doing what they're ranting about, and it's really interesting to start applying that. And anytime you have a rant or somebody else has a rant, applying that is really useful. So, you know, that is the all is one thing is really important, because if we really are all one, then we really are all able to access all the information, and we don't really have to go and, you know, search for it. Obviously, like I said, at the beginning of the journey, things are different. There's a time and a place for everything. But when I really truly believe that when it's time to then really take a leap forwards, it's time to kind of leave all that behind and then realize, you know, actually I am I have the answers for myself. Anyway, this is all, you know, things that I want to share. If you disagree, then that's cool. You can go and watch another video, you know, but I really feel like it's something that was a huge step for me, and I'm still really in the process of integrating it all, but it was a huge step for me to kind of stop constantly searching and seeking outside for healings and answers and stuff. And it served its purpose. It did what it needed to at the time. It opened my mind up to different things. And now is the time that I feel it's time to let all that stuff go and to find all of the answers from my journey within myself. And obviously I love communicating with other people. I love sharing experiences with other people and growing from that as well. But I've gone past really trying to get answers for my own life from other people, or at least I'm trying to get into that vibe. I used to be terrible. I used to be really bad. I used to ask, you know, I used to go for so many healings. I tried everything. I used to have so many readings or ask friends' opinions. I can remember when I first met the guy that I thought was my twin flame, I couldn't even reply to a text without getting several people's opinions on it. Then I'd go and have a few psychic readings. Obviously they'd all be a little bit different, and then, you know, by the time I sent that text, it didn't even contain any of my energy or had nothing to do with me, and it was not even my own guidance. It just ended up being a huge bombardment of a bunch of other people, which all were trying to help me and all had, you know, perfectly legitimate ideas on the reply. But ultimately I had to grow through my own experiences. I had to learn and make my own paths. I had to learn to connect to my own higher self. And there's also this very much, you know, when you wake up, you start to think of yourself as a little bit special, because you're like, oh, I have all these gifts, and even though, you know, you kind of say, oh, well, one love and one source, you're like, but I have all these gifts, and it might not be as egoic as that, but on some subconscious thing, there is very much it's very easy to get into that spiritual ego of being very special because you have access to certain gifts that the people don't have access to. So then you can enter into all these kind of contracts, like, you know, people are victim, you know, like there's a lot of like win and lose as well. You know, I got that from some things that I was listening to, and I now can see it really easily in other situations. I can see when there's like a win and lose dynamic going on, and it's really clear to me now that I can see, you know, people thinking, oh, this person can guide me. You know, I even get people writing that to me, like, oh, you're my guide, and I'm not. You know, I love to share things, and I hope that it triggers and maybe awakens something in in people, and sometimes I'm drawn to watch things and that triggers and awakens things in me as well. And I don't mean you can never go and have communication or ever go and listen to something, but just be really aware of doing it to boost your own connection to yourself rather than relying on getting answers from other people, if that makes sense. Like, these things should be about boosting your own connection to yourself. And if something isn't doing that and it's not helping you connect to yourself and it's sort of making you rely on that information, that's when it's not really helping you move forwards. And there's a time and a place for all things, and you'll outgrow everything along the journey as well, and everything feels right for a bit and then it will suddenly not feel right. But I do feel that's a really important phase. And also, like, the humbleness as well, that okay, people are more evolved and there are different stages of humanity, but they're all capable of the same things. It's just not everybody has awakened those things yet. So it's not really about, I do believe there's people here that are kind of showing the way because they've woken up a little bit, they've been time to wake up a little bit before everybody else, and therefore they can help guide people back by experiencing and expressing what they've experienced, how they've grown, sharing that with others, and allowing them to find their own power to connect to themselves and find their own gifts. And I feel that is really useful and helpful, rather than, I'll heal you and help you ascend and you just pay me X, Y, and Z, because then that person never really steps into their own power of learning to heal themselves. They're just relying on constantly going to somebody else for the healing, rather than being guided to heal themselves and to be able to read for themselves and to be able to connect to themselves. So these are all things that I feel are really important. And yeah, the individuality thing as well, of being all one, but then a lot of the time I feel that when we start to get into the real spiritual zone, it's almost like individuality can go even stronger because because of the specialness thing, and I can lead people, I can guide people, and sort of create a group, and there's nothing wrong with creating these groups. Again, a lot of it's to do with intention. Is it making people is it allowing people to take their own power, or is it making people reliant? And this is like a really big dividing line, I feel, and that's what I honestly feel is a big thing about when you watch and take information. Is it, pushing me to grow and to find my own to find my own power and connect to myself, or is it, becoming almost something that you are becoming reliant on from an external person? And that's really actually the key and the difference to look for in when you're sort of trying to seek guidance on your growth. And yeah, the individuality thing, I think that's huge. It's like, we're all one, but not with this person, because I don't like the way this person is. So, it's kind of, if you believe in oneness, you have to believe in everything. Hitler, you have to believe he's a part of the one soul that we're all connected to, and we created that experience to grow and to learn. And it's really hard from like a 3D perspective, because it's very easy for us to get lost in what's in front of our eyes, rather than see it from the bigger picture of how everything has contributed to the growth of the one soul. And it's very easy to get lost in the little bits of, but that was so horrible, and there's no way that I could be capable of that. And it's just really embracing everything, even things that you see as terrible and really bad, because to be embracing everything and understanding that everything is one experience in itself is to really embrace everything. And that's things that you really don't like. And a lot of the times the things that really trigger you are things that actually you've got a little bit of work to release within you and work through. So this was a little part 2 on spiritual ego, and I hope that helped. And yeah, that's really what I'm saying about being careful when looking for information. It's like, is it helping you connect to yourself and your own, you know, consciousness and connection? Or is it making you reliant on something else? And, you know, your spiritual awareness, is it helping you to evolve and become more humble and to integrate your ego? Or is it sort of separating you from everybody and actually creating a spiritual identity that's probably more profound and exaggerated than your identity before you became spiritual? And it's just asking these questions all the time. And I don't think we have to change overnight or next week. You know, it's just being aware of these things and questioning them all the time, like I do myself as well. There's loads of ways in which I still do all these things as well. You know, even being aware of stuff, then it's a process of unraveling it and integrating it. You can't you can't be aware of these things and then stop it the next day. You just can't, unfortunately. I wish it was that easy, but it is a process. And yeah, I just wanted to share this video because I felt like some things in my last one might not have been that clear. And yeah, that's my video for today.